Chatting in.
Do we have the pre-roll going?
It's going right now.
Okay, then we do a 30-second countdown. Cool.
So as soon as this is over, I'm going to get you guys in there.
I think I just got the vibration for VMP. Time to share. I guess just give me the countdown. I'll try and get it before the show starts. 53. Okay.
You guys are.
Hey guys.
Live!
So
Sorry.
live. It's okay. Justin and Joe, VMP Tuning Tuesday episode 53, I think.
53?
I think.
Big
Yeah.
53.
Yep. Yep. We're coming up on the magic number. Or I guess we passed the magic number last week. Kind of celebrated that. I forgot.
If you believe in the Julian calendar.
Maybe. We'll go with that. We count leap years and
what
stuff.
is the significance of numbers?
Not really anything. Numbers aren't important. So do we want to talk about that thing since it's new and it's on the table?
Yeah, I think some people have been buying some. And I actually have one customer right now who is having a little bit of trouble with it. So I got to thinking about it when I was doing some troubleshooting. The throttle body connector is the same as the MAF connector. And are there any other connectors that are the same as that?
Yeah, if you pull up installer support, there's a whole list of connectors that are shared.
Yeah.
For the repair kits for connector face stuff.
And okay, so
I
kind
want
of
to say Excel pedal position's the same as that.
Oh yeah. So the crutch of this is that there's aftermarket extension harnesses required to use this. Which if you're doing a brand new install, it's like, all right, disconnect the stock throttle body, install the extension harness, connect the new throttle body. Pretty simple. But there are the Roush cars that have been upgraded to VMP blowers and now VMP throttle bodies. And I started thinking about it. The original Roush kits had you de-pin the throttle body connector and replace it with a different one because they only had a plug-and-play mate for a different one. The aftermarket makes kind of a universal one, but Roush and Ford Racing are weird about using connectors with
Different pull-out specs or with no pull-out specs?
Yeah, with pull-outs. They have to have pull-out specs. So you just get into this convoluted situation, but the gist of it is you have to replace the throttle body Y harness from the GT500 style throttle body electronics and go to just a straight extension. And so I'm working with this customer right now that's having some issues, and I'm like, did you accidentally maybe hook this up with your MAF or with some other connector that looks the same? And because his issue is really weird. It just, the car just doesn't start.
Doesn't start?
Like, you could start a car without a throttle body plugged in.
Yeah, on the park spring it should start because that's like usually 7-8 degrees of throttle angle.
Yeah. So it's funny when you have a new product come out, you uncover the things that can go wrong.
Yep.
I mean, you can do all the testing and stuff like that, but you start putting things out in the field and, different people perceive stuff different way. So I gave him very detailed instructions on where the connector location is, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Sweet.
But yeah, this is new. And Joe, are we to the point about talking about the other thing?
Oh, for a second there I thought that was the other thing.
I mean, it basically is for all
Yeah.
intents and purposes.
So for the people that, I think it was it Ryan McDonald?
Ryan McDonald hinted at it, yes.
Yeah, and then there was a couple other people that have hinted at it. For those that don't know, the Twin 69 we made for 15-17, Mustang F-150, anything that has a tri-core ECU. The next step of that is a digital electronics 2018 up throttle body, so that guys with Cobra jets can run a really awesome throttle body that has similar to stock drivability and similar to stock tunability.
Yeah, no digital to analog conversion box.
Just an extension harness.
Yeah.
Which we can supply with the throttle body.
So you were driving around in our 18 F-150 truck in the parking lot with a Cobra jet intake.
Yep.
And the funniest thing about this is the trucks are speed density, so we're just going to get this together and test it in the parking lot. And so there's no cold air intake on it. Just, wide open.
Makes all sorts of whooshy noises.
Yeah. Reminds me of when we were on the dyno with Cletus's car.
Yeah.
And the Gen3, he had just had the throttle body open, just going for it.
Just sending. Speaking of which, did he find a block?
Yes.
Okay.
He's got a built short block on the way.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Chat reminds me we were sending him some more parts yesterday. I got to make sure they went out. or I'm going to get a text soon when his UPS person shows up and it's not on the
It's
truck.
not there.
So.
Nice. I guess we'll start taking questions unless there's anything else you want to touch on. Maybe your raccoon wounds?
Yeah.
That's a Family Guy reference to like season 2 of Family Guy. If anyone else catches that?
They're getting better. So I was previously doing 2 of these Band-Aids. Now I'm just doing 1 in the center.
It doesn't look that deep, but it...
Yeah.
Was that like road rash or sticks?
So I was grinding in the drive shaft tunnel of Rebecca's new car.
Oh no.
And I was using a certain type of grinding disc that tends to grab stuff. The thin paper ones with the plastic backing pad, the sanding discs.
Like the 80 grit pads?
Yeah, we used a lot of them on the dyno trailer because Jimmy likes them. And it just grabbed a sharp edge and just ran down the tunnel at me, right up my arm. So.
I had a buddy that was grinding like an axle or something on his old K5 Blazer. And he was in like basketball shorts, and he had a wire wheel, a wire cup on a angle grinder, and the cup walked up his thigh.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a nasty looking little thing.
Matthew wants to know how much boost you're running on your truck now.
So I think I'll save, I can talk about it, but I have a strange exhaust setup on my truck that I believe is a very big restriction. I have a 75 millimeter upper on the truck currently with a stock lower. On my 1040 pass, it was a 79 millimeter upper. On my 1040 pass, I was around 18 pounds. On this new 75 millimeter upper and the different throttle body, it's around 20, 21 pounds. But I have a feeling that when I change the exhaust, it's going to drop down to what I'd consider a reasonable boost level of 17, 18 pounds.
So on the plus side, we didn't know the map sensor went that high.
Yeah, we found out it does.
I wasn't sure if it was a 2.5 bar or 3 bar, but it's from one of the, it's either from an EcoBoost truck, I think it's from an EcoBoost truck.
Okay.
So it probably goes up to 25, 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Is that EcoBoost stuff? They'll do some crazy shit with boost.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm running 20 to 21 pounds. On C16, and I have a very strong feeling that when I change the exhaust, that boost is going to drop like a lead weight. Because for those that don't know, I had to, I think I mentioned it in a previous episode, but I had to like jank together an exhaust to get the car quiet enough for mod NASA where I didn't feel like one of those guys running dumps on a 13-second truck.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's a single 2.25 outlet.
Basically, finding the limits of single exhaust. Because we haven't, single 3-inch exhaust, we have not found the limit on my F-150 yet, which still has broken spider gears. That should be fixed this week.
I think I'm going to pull the pressure transducer off the Mustang. I have like a minus 20 to 30 PSI pressure transducer. I think I'm going to hook it up to a hose bar to measure
nice
back pressure and stuff. Maybe give the peeps a cool little video.
Yeah.
To compare it with your truck.
You know, too, I've recently found the box of fittings I had made like 10 years ago that go from M18 by 1.5 to 8-inch MPT.
That's perfect.
And if anybody that wants to know about measuring exhaust back pressure, and this is like mad scientist tuner shit, your average person doesn't usually need to do this, but use a piece of copper tube just so the sensor doesn't get exposed to extreme heat. Like at one point with one of my turbo cars, yes, I had turbo cars way back in the day. I think I had like a you know, basically a cheap McMaster gauge taped to the windshield driving down the road looking at what, you know, exhaust back pressure is. I
think I'm going to graph exhaust pressure versus RPM and versus airflow pound minute.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And just have like a little 3D histogram set up for it.
And I measured exhaust back pressure on my GT500. Because I had one of the engineers tell me it was extremely rich or extremely high, and he was right, and it just got higher as you added more boost. But GT500 with stock cats make more exhaust back pressure than they do boost.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. Is that relative or absolute pressure? So like relative to atmosphere, they make more pressure than boost?
To atmosphere, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, before the catalytic converter, insane amounts of back pressure. Which makes you wonder on the wideband cars, how
are you skewing the values?
Yeah, how does that affect it? It makes the wideband read richer, right, when you add pressure?
2SSRS
yeah,
says, what about
it makes it read richer than it actually is.
2SSRS says, what about these Honduran caravans?
This is not a show to talk about politics or the Honduran caravans.
Caravans.
Honduran caravan.
Are they
Talk about the
turbocharged?
politics of tuning.
Are they turbocharged caravans?
Ooh.
I guess that was the thing in the 80s.
A couple questions. Ryan says, when you guys have to dyno an 11 to 12 automatic GT, do you just manually put it in third gear, or do you do something different to hold 4 gears?
So it depends on whether or not we're chasing a number versus just tuning the car. Like, and I shouldn't even say chasing a number so much as getting an accurate measurement of horsepower and torque relative to what you'd see online. I'd say for 90% of the tuning that we do, we would do it in third gear unless we needed a longer sample. But I'd say on my last, or the pole before my last pole, I'll load a tune into it to lock it into fourth gear.
You know, I kind of, I've done a lot of dyno days over the years because we've always had a mobile dyno at VMP, and you can actually do a roll-on fourth gear pull. You actually have to roll on at about 3750 to 4000 RPM to keep it from driving. So that's one way to get a fourth gear number. A lot of times third gear will be very, very similar. It'll show lower torque, but pretty similar horsepower. And then, like Joe said, or throw a tune in. And there's actually a couple different ways in the tune to lock in fourth gear. It's always funny, but it's not really funny. You accidentally leave a car locked in fourth gear and you pull it off the dyno and the customer's like, it does something really weird with the transmission.
Yeah, it does.
And you always like, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, it just does something weird with the transmission. And sometimes they'll be like, transmission's not right, but like you get that difference in like perception.
Yeah.
So, because I'm just gonna be honest, if you leave a car locked in fourth gear and you try to drive it on the street, it feels really screwed up.
Yeah.
Because the car just lugs like crazy taking off.
Yeah.
Austin says, I have a 16 GT. I'm about to install 1 7/8 inch ceramic long tube headers. And what are the pros and cons of going castles?
Catless?
I guess that's what he means.
I'd say the pros are one less thing to worry about, less fuel consumption at wide open throttle, and
there's probably
a little bit of a drop in boost at higher boost levels.
Yeah.
Like this much. I'd say your cons are it will never legally pass an emissions test. At least not in the United States.
Yeah, cannot be legally sold.
Or resold.
Yeah.
Like dealers can't sell cars that are not supposed to be able to sell cars that don't have cats.
Yeah.
So I'd say the only drawback is the legality of it and the smell. Because the cats do a pretty good job of cleaning up the smell at or around idle of hydrocarbons. And you take them off and you'll get some of that third gen F-body smell.
Gasoline smell. And that's kind of like a legitimate thing, especially if you have a convertible. You put aftermarket cats or no cats on a car, you will smell unburned fuel. It's just the way it is.
You'll know whether or not you're getting carbon monoxide poisoning before you get it.
Jay says, what kind of boost and real wheel numbers do you expect on a 14 Auto GT, L&M intake and exhaust, NSR cams, Kooks long tubes, Gen2R stage 2 with 79 upper and 5% lower? It's got a VMP fuel pump booster on stock pump and 93 VMP catless tune.
So he's got the L&M intake cams, he said?
Yes.
Intake and exhaust NSR, it sounded like.
Yes.
Okay. It should be in the low 700s.
Yeah, the thing I don't like is that pulley combo on 93.
Yeah.
And like the cams and the long tubes help it, but you're still basically the equivalent of a 75 millimeter upper on 93.
You're kind of timing limited.
Yeah.
You know, it's to be safe on 93, because you may have good 93 on the dyno, or you may get away with pushing it on the dyno, but out there on the street, a lot more heat in the engine, or not as good a quality 93.
Yeah, got to let the NOx sensors do their things, or you'll have a bad time.
And I mean, this is just, you know, stuff we've learned over the years and seen over the years from thousands of data logs and stuff. It like, you can get away with anything once on the dyno.
Yeah, and even 10, 15 times on the street, but
Yeah.
you do that one back-to-back racing session in Mexico, and you could have a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, I was in 5th gear at wide open throttle for 2 minutes and I kind of blew my engine up. Well, that was in lack of octane. Too much heat, not enough octane.
Yeah.
Jay says, thanks to the VMP crew and Tuning Tuesdays, my pockets are empty now due to our Black Friday sale. Everything arrived today except for upper pulley, which is back ordered.
Nice.
Great. Well, it sounds like he got in early on the wave.
Yeah.
Because we were just having a meeting today. We had our regular meeting, and shipping's a little backed up. So, you know, it's going to probably take like a week to clear out all the orders because it's a mother frickin' ton of orders.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, by the way, guys.
But yes, thank you for spending the money with us.
Yeah. Like, share, and subscribe if you want the information to keep on coming out. But yeah, bear in mind shipping is inundated right now with stuff.
And also, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and you buying stuff from us lets us do fun stuff like Tuning Tuesday.
Exactly.
And I was also going to say is make sure you tune in to our social media channels as we will be having some more sales coming up. And if you want to learn more about those and to stay abreast, keep making sure you follow our Instagram and Facebook pages as well.
It's not over until you have VMP parts under your Christmas tree.
We're working on that.
And stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
Stocking stuffers.
VMP apparel and accessories.
Mm-hmm. All of it.
VMP beanies. Those are coming next week, right, Max?
Oh, man.
Justin MC, a.k.a. Thunder Biscuit, says that he was at the turkey run this past weekend. Did y'all make it out there?
I made it out there late Saturday. I think I got there at 2:30, and I made the run around before they closed at 4.
Oh, they closed at 4?
Oh, they close at 4 every year. I didn't know that either. Because I'm so used to going at like 8 a.m. and then being like too tired to walk any further by about 2. So I had never really stayed till they closed up before. But
damn, I know. I've always gotten there like 11 or noon at the latest. I was working on race car stuff all weekend. It's been like that for like a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. So was it good?
Yeah, it was good. Turnout's always good at that show in terms of spectator count.
5,000 cars on Saturday and how many tens of thousands of spectators? I mean, I'm guessing 20, 30, 40,000 at least.
SCT and Roush were there.
Oh, really?
Ashley was like, why aren't you guys out here with a booth? And I'm like, I don't know.
Like, we have been at the turkey run before, and it is literally so big that like you just kind of get lost in a sea of stuff.
We could just bring all of our used takeoff parts and go into the swap meet and pitch a booth and sell all the takeoff parts at the swap meet.
Right.
Be fun.
Shun says, do you have any old 03, 04 Cobras with a Gen 3 supercharger making 800 plus horsepower? If so, what PSI and IATs?
Ryan Jordan was
think about
22 pounds, 23 pounds?
22 pounds, yeah.
You can find him on Facebook. I don't know the specific details of boost, timing, or anything like that because we weren't the ones that tuned that car. But what shop was that did his modular Mustang Performance or something like that?
Yeah, MMP.
Okay.
MMP over in Alabama. And I had another one, a car that a customer actually sold, but he sent us over all the results. A guy named Max Crusetti, he had a car make like 750 at Fastlane with a Gen 3. Just keep in mind, see at Cobras, they see all the numbers that the Coyotes and the GT500s are making, and I think they're kind of like, me too, me too.
At 8.5 to 1.
Yeah, you've got literally a 15-year-old motor that does not have all the technology or displacement of a GT500 or Coyote. So like that car making 600 or 700 is really actually pretty impressive for the era that it's from. I mean, the fact that we've got
especially
cars,
the stock ECU stuff.
Yeah. That stock ECU, like I think a Texas Instruments graphing calculator's faster. Or it's literally the same speed.
That's crazy.
I mean, you're talking about
like a TI-85 type thing?
Yeah. You're talking about a 27 megahertz, 16-bit ECU. Cannot recognize numbers longer than 8 bits. And that's why the MAF limit and injector limits and all that stuff is there. There's not physically enough space
to calculate everything.
Yeah, for a bigger number.
Juan says, just joined, but what first performance mods can I do to an 11 to 17 F-150 to make decent power?
Tune that bitch and run 93.
I'd say that would be two separate categories for me. 11 to 14 and 15 to 17, because there's things that you have to do to an 11 to 14 that you don't necessarily have to do to a 15, 17 truck.
Good point. The bottom line is get the aluminum truck if you can.
Yeah.
The engine's better and it's lighter and faster.
Yeah, just all around, get a 15, 17 truck. Step 1, get a tune. Step 2, pick up a cold air. Step 3, intake manifold long tubes. And then step 4, if you want to do it incrementally, would be boost. If it was me, like I did, it was tune, blower.
Yeah, you didn't go slow, Joe. You did not go slow at all. And I'll talk about, so I think I know why they're asking the whole 11 to 17 spectrum. You know, about a year ago, one of the guys here bought a truck, and he's like, you know, the 14 was just so much cheaper. But the 18 that we just picked up, it's an STX model. It was $42,000 new, which just tells me that the 15 to 16s must be fairly low in price now.
Yeah.
I think in the high 20s, low 30s, but F-150s hold their value really well.
Especially four-wheel drive F-150s, more so than two-wheel drive F-150s.
Right.
2SSRS wants to know a cheap clutch upgrade for an 11 to 14 MT82.
Cheap would be like XZD, and not even like a bad cheap, just a low-priced clutch would be like an XZD.
Like, I mean, you know, there's
and single disc McLeod would probably be a good replacement.
Yeah, I mean, you do like a single disc, more aggressive material. You know, you can hold 500 NA on something like that.
Yeah.
He has another question. Any experience with L&M intake only cams on 11 to 14 5.0?
Yes.
Any power gains? Says it's same lift, just longer duration.
Yeah, with the L&M intake onlys, I think I saw 15, 20 on a blower setup, somewhere in that range.
Out of Line Garage says, any differences tuning-wise going from a stock 11 to 14 Coyote to a 15 to 17 short block with 11 to 14 heads? Probably doing an 18 plus intake, worth the $400? Question mark.
So that sounded like two questions.
Yes.
The 15, 17 short block, as long as you're running all the 11 to 14 valve train and everything, no tune change. The 18 intake manifold, to me, worth the $400.
Slabcheck says, I got a case of boost stain on the way. I need to retune. Do I need to send logs? The last logs I sent way back had an EGR to header leak.
I'd say send logs, and send logs once you get boost stain in it, so that we can see how everything is with the boost stain in it.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to be looking to make sure you're getting the timing and that the air fuel is safe. I mean, it's kind of
the intercooler pump is working.
Yeah, it's kind of a formality to make sure that everything's working as it's supposed to. Because, you know, like, we know the tunes are going to work. We've done them hundreds of times before. Is the car going to work? You know, that's why.
It's more of a validation thing than a need thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of the value add of our services is we'll look at your logs, make sure your stuff's working, but like it's also not a trial and error thing. We don't send tunes out and try to get logs back, you know, until we get it working right. No, we know the tunes work.
Leo wants to know, how fast would a single cab F-150 go in the quarter with the 2.3?
It depends on how high you're turning up the 2.3. If you're at a similar boost level to what Justin and I are at, I'd anticipate it to be pretty close to what the Gen 3 is doing. But if you're at a, let's say, 10 PSI boost on 2300 or 11 pounds on a single cab truck, I'd say it'd probably go 1150, 1170 at 10 pounds.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I believe there's about, on a stock motor, there's about 3 to 4 tenths faster on a Gen 3. But it's, you know, it's weird because the F-150 makes a lot more boost than the Mustang, and it takes a lot more boost than the Mustang because it's lower compression. Oh shit, we wouldn't be talking about running 17 pounds on the stock Mustang motors, other than the fact that we've been doing it on my truck on a 2.3 for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, weather to weather, you know, same conditions. I'm about, actually validated like 4/10 faster, 3.5 to 4/10 faster now, and about 3 to 4 mile an hour. So yeah, so if you got a regular cab, there's some potential to get into the 10s. You know, and you're still thinking there's some left on your Gen 3 setup over what you got right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially once I get that exhaust restriction figured out.
There's really a great value for the truck. You know, the big thing with our VMP kits is you're getting a bigger injector, you're getting a bigger throttle body, all the stuff that the other 2-3 kits don't have the supporting mods to make more than like 600 horsepower, 550 to 600.
That and the only other 2-3 kit that I'm aware of does have the right angle elbow, which doesn't help from a peak flow standpoint. It works great in a box stock kit, but when you want to go turn it up, it's kind of a restriction at that point.
Right.
Alexander with Shelby Canada West says it looks like he got his tunes in and he can't wait to get home to run the proper tune on his 3-valve daily.
Nice.
Great.
Nice. 3-valve nation.
Justin says, I have an 8650 speed. Should I keep the original motor or should I just say to heck with it and do a Coyote swap? By the way, do we do in-house swaps?
That is a very slippery slope. You go from I don't really have to spend much money at all to a $15,000 to $20,000 out of pocket. I'm all for Coyotes and almost everything, but I'd have to look at the dollar and cents of it, see what your goal is power-wise or ET-wise, and then kind of judge based off of that as to whether or not a Coyote is the right swap for you. But I'd say for 90% of people, Coyote is the right thing to do. You get great gas mileage.
Joe's right. Like, it's a ton of freaking money, but yeah, the gas mileage. So back when I first started modding my car, my buddy had a 9550.
You talking about your Atlantic Blue car?
Yeah, when I had that car. So early 2000s. Just to put it in similar context, he had a 50. Old style 50, overhead valve 50.
Push rod.
Push rod, yeah. And he did heads and cam. He got it to like 300, 330 wheel. And then he did a Vortec, and he got to like 475. He actually made like 500 or 520, but he kind of backed it down because of the whole splitting the block thing. And like, that was a lot of power back then. That was like on the cutting edge.
Yeah, that was a stout car back in the early 2000s.
And now we're getting stock 50s at, 450, 500, not stock, but bolt-on 50s at 450, 500 wheel, stock at like 380 to 400 wheel, stock with like a tuning cold air. So that's a good point, Joe. Like, the thing's going to start up, it's going to idle smooth, it's going to get good gas mileage.
Yeah, and I don't think you're ever going to pay for the swap with gas mileage, but I think the miles per gallon offset very quickly going to a overhead cam 5-liter versus the pushrod stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to
Unless you do like a turbo or a 408 Windsor, you could do a pretty stout pushrod motor for the amount of money you'd be into a Coyote.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pick up an old Roush Yates race engine for as much as you would be into a Coyote swap. And then you're talking like a 800 horsepower naturally aspirated 9,000 RPM small block versus Coyote. And I don't know, that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's true. You can go a lot of different ways. And I think one of the things is like, people can go and buy a Coyote. Where do you go and get a small block Ford race engine? You kind of have
Ford Racing Performance Parts Catalog.
Yeah.
And then there's what Travis was talking about, Travis Hill with SVTP, was talking about that new big block Ford's supposedly coming out with.
Oh, yeah. The
push rod big block?
Yeah, like the almost 7-liter Ford.
I think it's 7-liter Ford, yeah.
Yeah. That actually seems kind of awesome.
Yeah, so based on all the stuff we just told you, that's kind of your decision to make there, where you want to put your dollars and cents. And that sense not spelled C-E-N-T-S, that's S-E-N-S-E.
Carlos wants to know, will the IAT harnesses that VMP sells, will they work on a Coyote swap Ford control pack?
We have a Coyote swap Ford control pack specific harness. There's our 15 IAT kit works on all 15, 17 control packs, but we have a separate part number for the 11 to 14 control packs.
Yeah, and it's basically a harness that the control pack ECUs, you can't add a wire, so you have to tap into the MAF signal, so we have a harness for that.
And to differentiate there, the power by the hour control pack, you can use a standard 11 to 14 kit IAT.
Because they use a Mustang ECU.
If you're using the Ford Racing control pack, you cannot use the traditional 11 to 14 Mustang IAT kit.
Yeah, Ford Racing rewrites the ECUs, the strategy, and like uses that pin as like, I'm guessing it's an output for that box they have.
I think it's
something.
the output for the relay module.
Yeah, and those 11 to 14 control pack IAT harnesses, I'm not sure where they are on the website. I know we have a box of them.
I've found them before.
You found them? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I had Travis Adam when he was here.
Cool.
Jason McAllister says 15 to 17 GT cold air intake or stock air box with drop-in filter.
If you're doing anything other than stock intake manifold stuff, get an aftermarket cold air intake from JLT, PMOS, Corsa, any of those guys that make them.
You found out how important that was on a recent dyno test, right?
Yeah, and I was actually telling Donnie that when he was testing. I'm like, man, looking at how the shape of the airflow curve is, I'm like, it seems like there's an intake restriction on this thing. I'm like, swap out the intake real quick and we'll see what it does with that.
I mean, that's kind of, it's the least common denominator. If you have a small throttle body, you can put smaller pulleys on until you're blue in the face and you won't pick up power. Mm-hmm. Especially naturally aspirated and positive displacement supercharged are really sensitive to intake restrictions. Mm-hmm. Exhaust, you were able to overcome until now, until you went really small on pulley. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I just want to give you a heads up. It looks like our streaming over on Facebook died. It cut out on us.
Oh.
So we can continue on with just YouTube, or he can try and restart it if he wanted to.
No, I'd say just keep on keeping on with YouTube.
Yeah, you have about 25 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah, we could put a little link up on the Facebook page and let the peeps know, go here to watch it.
Yes. Yeah. Dave says, hey guys, thanks for all you do. I have an 07 Mustang GT. Mm-hmm. I'm installing over this winter MMR 1000 SEs, 4.75 liter 3 valve with blower cams and stage 3 heads. Paxton 1200 SL with intercooler.
Don't do that.
Is this something you can tune? That's
something that we can physically tune. You're dropping a lot of money in the short block to limit it on the blower.
It's a very small blower.
Yeah, I do. If you're going to do anything with that setup, I'd change the head unit to a 2200, or pick up one of our 1.9 liter kits. And the 1.9s are tricky. You got to get like a M90 kit because I don't think we can get the rest of the parts to build a 1.9 from scratch.
Yeah, like we actually have. I think I've got a box actually in the old shop on a shelf. I have a box of parts to build a complete 1.9 kit, but you have to be a hardcore do-it-yourselfer, like figure out where to put coolant lines and stuff like that. So
yeah, so I'd say ditch the 1200, get a 2200. But at the end of the day, can we physically tune a 1200 car with built motor and stuff? Yeah, it's not a problem. But I think the way that you're going about it, do an aftermarket blower so you can actually take advantage of the Ford short block.
Yeah.
Poor Boy says, actually, let's go up here. Dodging Hernandez says, how much power can my 11 GT500 handle?
All of it. I think we're calling the safe on the 1112's 800 wheel. Anything past that, you're really on sketchy territory. And then below 800 wheel, it should live a relatively long life as long as everything's happy.
Yeah.
Yeti Chevy says, how's the truck's performance with your F-150 Raptor 6.2 supercharger kits?
Did you do a 12.4 in your Raptor? Or was it 12.6?
12? No. 13.0 on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And a nearly 6,000. Actually, the Raptor was 62 plus driver.
Okay, and yours was super cab or 4-door?
4-door.
Okay.
Yeah, the Raptor engine is, I mean, it's better with boost, but it's only like a 500 wheel engine. The heads just don't flow that great.
The heads flow really good.
Something doesn't flow great.
Yeah, there's something in the intake system on those. I think it's the camshaft that they have spec for its stock that isn't that great, because there's like a 670 wheel all motor Raptor notchback, and the head flow on the Raptor I think is up over 325 CFM on the intake.
They have like a almost a 2-inch valve, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and it's like a square intake port.
Yeah.
But it's a really big intake port.
But
yeah, unless you already bought the Raptor and you're like emotionally attached to it, I'd pick up a 15-17 Illumibody or an 18 Illumibody truck.
That's true, and build your own Raptor.
Yeah.
Wide body kit and big wheels and tires and stuff, lift.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you wanted a V8 Raptor, because did you see Eric picked up a Raptor?
I saw that, yeah.
I was gonna say those new 15, I guess it'd be 17 Raptors look great.
So he came back again, and now he wants to know, the gentleman with the GT500?
Yeah.
Wants to know how much power can it take with a 900 horsepower VMP kit with E85?
It's that same safe limit threshold, I'd call it, but the E85 lends you more safety margin.
It's more efficient, yeah. And so I guess an important note, Joe was talking wheel horsepower. Those kits are rated crank horsepower, so I'm doing some math on my calculator.
So it'd be like 730, 750?
740 to 760.
And then you throw E85 on top of that. We can go a bit crazy with E85, but by that same token, it is a stock short block, so we have to keep things within the realm of reason as well. And
it's, so it's like 950. So if you did that kit with E85, it'd be like 950 crank and like 800 wheels, what we would shoot for. We'd want to run like a 2.6 pulley with good exhaust should do it. Because we made a number on 2.6 with C16 on, and let me tell you, it was tuned to the ragged edge. I mean, that was best case scenario.
All of it.
Yeah.
Every single bit of it.
On my car that we did the video on earlier in the year, which actually it's finally boost weather again in Florida. I've been waiting for that, so I have a direct comparison. And so we'll be getting some dyno numbers on that thing soon.
I know of a guy with a dyno.
Really?
Yeah. He's not sitting too far from me. I gotta fix that.
That guy has 3 dynos and he doesn't have enough time to use them.
It's sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
First world problems.
Christopher wants to know, do you know what LM1 cams on a 12 GT with long tubes will make pre-VMP Gen3?
I don't. All the cam work that we've done with the L&M intake onlys and then the intake and exhaust NSR stuff has been with blowers.
But there is a great point to make there.
Things with blower do translate back to naturally aspirated somewhat.
They do. However, if he runs those cams with a stock airbox, it's really not going to be pretty, even if he puts a cold air on it.
Oh, you said stock airbox?
Well, I don't think he did, but just think of restrictions. So the cold air, you're going to want to have a cold air if you're still naturally aspirated, and the 11 to 17 stock GT intake manifold really isn't great for horsepower. Falls off starting at 6,500, so you may never really see the potential of those cams with a stock intake manifold.
Yeah.
Poor Boy says, good day VMP. Do you have any events that you plan on attending with the dyno near Michigan in 2019?
Are you guys doing the Dream Cruise this year?
I don't think so unless someone calls us out there.
Okay.
And we will be at Shelby Fest, and then we are potentially thinking about going to Gateway Motorsports Park to the NMRA race because it's 2 weeks after Shelby Fest and we'll already be up there.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, potentially. We're going to release the schedule like second week of January. We'll release our 2019 schedule. But if you're willing to drive like 4 to 8 hours, we can get you taken care of. And there's, well, Carlisle's kind of far from Michigan.
Yeah, especially if he's from like Detroit area.
Yeah, yeah.
Rob says, hey Joe, how much lower is the ITA with spacers? Before, after looked like you were running the spacers on your intercooler. I have a 17 Mustang, was hoping to see them on sale, hint hint.
There's no like direct correlation at watt with the temperature. The gain is at like restart or like when I was drag racing, if I went and made a pass, it didn't really ever heat up my intercooler system to the point where I really needed a long cooldown to get it going again. But I'd say you're making a watt pole A with the same starting temperature and a watt pole B, same starting temperature, the only difference being the phenolic spacers. There's not going to be too much difference there at same starting temperature. The gain is at after you've put heat in the system, how quickly it recovers from it and how quickly or how effectively it can keep that heat from getting into the fluid to begin with, as transferred from the heads and all that stuff. So yeah, I'd say it's more of a help keeping the car or truck or whatever you're putting it on consistent more so than an A to B power gain, dyno pole to dyno pole.
Dirty D says, looking for catback recommendations from Joe, Justin, and viewers. I currently have a Gen 3 with MBRP catback with H-pipe and love the low tone rumble before removing cats.
Add a couple of short resonators if you want to try and keep a similar sound after you remove cats. If you change the muffler, it's going to change the tone of the car, period.
Yeah, like, I mean, could you go back to maybe like a suitcase in the middle, or I guess just a couple resonators in the middle would do the same thing as the suitcase?
Yeah, my all-time favorite exhaust on a 5-liter is 1112 or 1314 GT500 mufflers, res delete, catless.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's with long tubes or stock manifolds, I love that exhaust setup on a 5-liter.
Melvin says he finally purchased his Gen 2 R kit last Friday, so
Nice.
sounds like he took advantage of the Black Friday
Great.
sale.
Congrats, Melvin.
Dirty D says, obviously sound got louder after removing the cats, but I didn't expect a tone change. Car is now raspy and drones. I don't mind upsetting neighbors, but trying not to piss them off. Not a fan of raspy exhaust so far. I've been told Magnaflow or add cherry bombs after H on MBRP. Any suggestions welcome. Looking for that super low rumble.
Yeah, I'd say a resonator that effectively tunes out that resonant frequency where you're getting drone would be your best bet, and that's where people are kind of telling you to do cherry bombs. That's the same thing I'm telling you to do, except I'm not telling you a specific brand to put on.
Some brand of resonator that got a bad name.
Exactly.
In the 80s.
I like Magnapacks. If you could add a pair of Magnapacks in there, you'd probably love the tone with keeping the MBRP mufflers.
And any of this stuff, like, I mean, other than some certain voodoo magic, like you look at the size of the stuff, it has to, the bigger the muffler is, the more sound it dissipates.
People are having whole conversations going back and forth, which sometimes makes it difficult picking up the questions because they're having this whole conversation. They were just talking about how Cletus blew up his car.
Yeah.
And someone was saying because of a nitrous shot that made almost 1,100 wheel.
Oh, God.
I'd say it was more directly caused by hydrolocking it, but yeah, it's possible.
And which someone else had mentioned the hydrolocking as
Has
well.
Cletus released like the post-mortem on it?
I don't know. I know that he released a video, and in the beginning of the video, he was talking about how showing it without showing the carnage is pointless, and I don't think I finished the video. I was like watching it on my way home, and someone called me mid-video or something.
So like,
I think it was actually Matt.
I know a lot, and I don't know everything, but I talked to him a lot about it. But what's really interesting is that there is the potential. I mean, it did survive the dyno poles, and it was driven and beat on afterwards, and it almost failed out of a technicality, we think. So I don't want to divulge anything that Cletus hasn't divulged himself, but like Joe was saying.
Yeah, I know that in the video I was referring to, in the portion that I had watched, James, his, I guess it's like his employee slash mechanic guy, was thinking hydrolock as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, someone else already mentioned hydrolock also on it. So,
Very unfortunate, but when you're doing stuff like that, something's bound to happen at one point or another.
Yeah, we've had some motors that have blown head gaskets and then proceeded to slowly blow a head gasket, and eventually hydrolock never failed catastrophically.
Although we did figure out on that car it had a cracked block.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, did the cracked block cause the head gasket to lose sealing?
Yeah. I think that's the block out back.
Yeah, Travis Schott went on and said, with the 5.4 in your 11 GT500 safe, says wise around 850 to the wheel. Any more than that, you need to start upgrading other aspects of the motor. Cletus McFarlane just hydro-locked his 5.4. Ricardo says, I just changed the upstream sensors and now the car throws code P2629. What can be the causes?
If I had a code looking up device to tell you what P2629 is, I'd be happy to let you know. But based on the fact that I don't know what that code is, I would assume it's a circuit code, whether that's a heater circuit code or something circuit high, circuit low. If you're getting circuit codes, start with fuses, then go to wiring. Because there's not much from a tuning standpoint we can do to either cause or correct circuit codes.
Yeah.
Rob Ingram came back and said Cletus did show the aftermath in the video.
Nice, nice.
It has been done.
I'll have to finish the video one of these days on my way home.
Towed My Car has a 17 GT P1 SC1, newly rebuilt MMR non-sleeved short block, 4-level, 4-twin pump, considering PD. Advantages of our Gen 3 setup.
Is that the end?
What are the advantages of our Gen 3 setup?
Torque everywhere.
Instant torque. And
Instant power.
A lot of horsepower to go with it. More reliability in the sense that all the belt system and everything's rigidly mounted to the engine. There's no external pressurized tubing. The MAF, technically, like from a response and tuning standpoint, the mass air sensor is closer to the engine. There's a lot of little things that kind of stack up to make our stuff work really, really well.
KPY4EHET says, hi guys, have spent over $6,000 with us over the weekend. If my wife finds out, she will kill me.
I would not post it on Facebook then.
Or YouTube.
Just saying.
What's YouTube?
Oh, okay, he's good then. No one watches other people's comments on YouTube. Unless they're super stock or level 9000s.
Okay, he says the same thing.
Oh, I'm glad you're buying stuff from us and appreciate it.
purchase.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff.
Travis says, would the BMR performance springs be worth it for a 15 to 17 GT? They lower 1.2 inches front and half an inch in the rear.
If the price point that they're selling those at is what you would consider justifiable for the amount of lowering that you're getting, I'd say that they're worth it. Because, like, I hate those.
Springs are kind of, I mean, I don't know. Springs are kind of springs, but...
Yeah, I like the BMR springs, the IBOC, and I don't know what H&R's doing, but I've always liked like everything H&R does. I don't know if they sell spring for S550, but if you're looking to get the rest of your suspension done at one point or another, I'd definitely say go with BMR, because then you're pairing the rest of their suspension components up with their springs. It's going to be a platform or a setup that they're familiar with. They're going to be able to guide you on how to set everything up once their springs are in it.
Ron says, I have a 15 Roush RS3 Phase 1 with stock manifolds and Magnaflow street exhaust. I want to go Kooks long tubes. Did the black Saleen in our video with the Gen 3 and Kooks long tubes installed have Magnaflow street exhaust?
It does have Magnaflow street exhaust.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a thing that Saleen's been doing for a long time, putting Magnaflow exhaust on. I think ever since 03 or 02.
Oh, wow.
Saleen's been doing Magnaflow exhaust, like private labeled to them.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like how they do the racecraft. I believe they're revalve Bilsteins or something like that.
Okay.
Jess Karen says, have you guys fixed the 18 manifold tune yet?
I'm not aware of an issue with it. The prevailing issue is people not installing parts correctly.
I was telling somebody a couple weeks ago, it's really tricky because there's a port on the 18 manifold that looks like it's a vacuum supply, and it actually needs to have vacuum supplied to it from one of the other ports next to it to actuate the charge motion plates. So that's the biggest issue we run into. And
like if you get a hunt at startup, or you have a part throttle drivability issue with an 18 intake manifold, 9 times out of 10, if your tune is set up for with IMRCs, aka IMRC is not deleted, 9 times out of 10 your issue is that the vacuum harness is not hooked up properly.
And it was probably 5 or 6 months ago that we got all the tuning straightened out, adapter harnesses, limiters, everything.
Yep.
Maurice wants to know, have you heard anything on the 1850 cam upgrades?
I have not.
Now, I think I heard earlier in the year Comp was like, oh, we're really backed up on development work, because Comp Camshaft makes like a lot of the cams for the whole industry, because they can get the cores with their buying power and everything. So
someone came out with a frictions and steels kit for 10R80.
Oh, nice.
By Ray Bestis. I can't remember who worked with the monitor, who's selling it right now, but Zach was telling me he already ordered it, so that when the time comes that he needs it, he has it. Doesn't have to worry about back order or anything.
So yeah, 18 development's coming along, but don't know anything about cams yet.
Yep.
Big Daddy Trucker says that he sold his 17 GT PP, bought a 12 GT500 with 11K. Can't wait to get a Gen 3 on it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Johnny Peak says, just purchased a Gen 3 for my 07 GT500. What plugs do you suggest and at what gap? Switching to E85 and a return fuel system. Currently running SP471s with my Gen 2.
So I missed the car in the beginning.
It's a Gen 3. It's an 07 GT500.
Did he say what pulley with Gen 3?
He did not.
Okay. The plug and gap I'd recommend is highly dependent on the pulley that you're using, because Gen 3 we can range from 14 to 15 pounds on the biggest pulley we make, and then all the way up to, I mean, if you really wanted to go crazy, you could run 26 pounds.
Yeah.
So your plug's going to change with that, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say it's going to be on 93, we'll call it probably around 18, 19 pounds tops. I'd recommend like a GR12YS at like 26 thou.
Sounds good, Joe. Sounds good.
Butt scratcher.
I wasn't sure if you were done.
No, I'm done. I threw a little Family Guy quote in there. For all those listening for whispers.
Butt scratcher. So I am guessing Black Stang purchased a Gen 3 because he wants to know how many did we sell, because he wants to know the odds on the drawing.
I know we sold a lot. I don't even know exactly how many we sold yet.
No, I looked at the sales totals, but I didn't look at individual product totals, so I don't remember.
I mean, in overall terms, I would say, I mean, listen, like we didn't sell like 1 million. It's way better than the lottery. Yeah. It's,
would you say, guessing between Cobra GT500 and 5 liter, around 60 would be accurate?
Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, I would say anywhere from 0.5% to 1.25%, you know? It's hard to say, though. But your odds are pretty good in the scheme of things.
Just Karen, based off of what we were just talking about with the 18 manifolds, says that we should make a video how to correctly install an 18 manifold on GT.
That's what I meant to say. That video is coming. It's coming very soon. We're shooting the rest of the footage for it tomorrow.
So it's funny that it was said.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Trucker says, what is the max horsepower to wheel comfortable? Will the 12 5.4 GT500 motor handle?
Covered a little bit earlier, 8 to 850 wheel. I'd say 800 on a moderate setup with full supporting mods like exhaust. Closer to 850 if it's a car that has cams. I have bad hiccups right now. And Justin's yelling, so we both got stuff going on right now.
It's funny, like, I remember back in the early days of GT500s, everybody that went for insane numbers, a lot of people blew them up on the dyno, but they were running some inefficient superchargers at very, very high boost levels.
Probably trying to cram timing in them to get them to make a magic number.
Yeah, I mean, imagine trying to run like 26 pounds on a stock motor, 28 pounds. But like when you build it right, you have the supporting mods, you have the flow, and then you actually like still keep boost fairly low, but you use a very efficient supercharger like our VMP Gen3, and you keep boost fairly low. You know, I would say fairly low, like around 20, 22 pounds, but the system flows, so you're getting more flow than you are back pressure. You know, making a big number is not that hard. I get these calls all the time. You think I can run like, you know, 30 pounds of boost? I'm like, no, if you're running 30 pounds of boost, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. An interesting topic, or talking point. I went down 1 pulley size, picked up 4 pounds of boost. I think that tells you everything you need to know about my exhaust restriction.
You're doing something wrong, Joe. I mean, basically.
Yeah.
Travis Schott says, Joe and Justin, in Cletus's case, he opened the engine and it had a rod through the block and another rod punctured the oil pan.
Yeah.
But that happened on startup, not when running it.
Yeah, not wide open throttle on nitrous or off nitrous or anything like that.
It survived wide open throttle and extensive driving while it was hot after it came off the dyno.
Yeah.
Poor Boy says a video on changing oil pump gears in a Coyote the right way would be another one.
I'd be interested on his opinion on the right way.
Yeah, are
Or just
people
the
doing
wrong
it the
way.
wrong way?
Yeah, like what are
The
people...
only thing I think you can really do wrong is time it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've seen it done.
yeah.
It's not that hard to follow instructions, but it is, I guess.
And with that said, we have no more comments or questions. It is exactly 2:30.
Man,
I guess that's
it's on point today.
That's it. I guess only having the one stream, maybe. And I think people are probably a little burned out on car shit from Black Friday, from spending all their money with us and other vendors.
Yeah.
As we heard, actually.
Yeah.
I spent all my money with you. Thank you very much for spending all your money with us.
Oh, I just got another question. It says Coyote for the win. What's the max power a VMP Gen2 can put down on a 6-speed S550?
Depends on the engine combination. Let's just call it a stock S550 engine or stock compression, stock cams S550. I'd say on an auto car, the highest I ever saw with a Gen 2 was 890 wheel on a stock cam, stock compression S550 auto.
That's about right. You know, with everything.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, make sure you subscribe to see more content from us, like us, and
if you don't already
share.
like us.
Yeah, if you don't already. But definitely subscribe. Recommend your friends subscribe. You'll get notifications of our videos. And we put videos out like every other day. So actually every day sometimes, except for weekends.
We're trying to make sure that we keep the video production up.
Yeah, we got like all kinds of crazy ideas in the hopper, and we act upon them and produce videos around them. Brian's over here laughing. So, crazy ideas, technical videos, racing videos, everything. Our own kind of little style of what we do.
Yeah, and if you ever have any suggestions or ideas, feel free to send them to me. I will put my email address in the comments.
Oh man, DM's incoming.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day.
Like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you next time.